So, the past few days we have made a few videos going over Montreal Canadiens defenseman Arber Xhekaj. We went over the situation of him getting sent down to Laval. We talked about the idea as to whether or not Martin St. Louis, Montreal Canadiens coach, was pissed off at Xhekaj. And throughout this entire ordeal, we've had our conversations, it's been fun. We have dove deep into what makes Xhekaj an important player and why he was sent down to Laval in the first place. But in this video, we're going over an entirely other aspect that I didn't even realize was possible, but one that I think is going to ignite a huge conversation as to where your own priorities lie and how you evaluate these players. So, let's just briefly summarize everything once more for the people who are new here. Arber Xhekaj is a Canadiens defenseman who was a beast, a monster of a human being, a physical specimen, a brute force, a guy who's gone out there and absolutely terrorized opposition with his hits, with his defensive shutdown play, with his blocks. He has been a wall. And he's pretty young too, 22 years old, 6'4", 238 pounds, left-handed defenseman. On a Canadiens team that boasts all these other defensemen, it's difficult to find legitimate and meaningful playing time for all of them, but Arber Xhekaj for the most part has been rotated around in that mix pretty consistently. Up until recently, though, when he got sent down to the Laval Rocket after posting up a few bad weeks in a row, or at least a few lackluster weeks in a row, I guess you could say. A lot of what made Arber Xhekaj an effective player last year started to dissipate over the past few weeks, which is why he got sent down. You could say that it's to help him regain his confidence, etc., etc. We talked about this and more in the last video. But we also talked about the idea as to whether or not Martin St. Louis was pissed off at this guy. There was an entire conversation floating around from former NHLer George Laraque saying that he heard through the grapevine that Martin St. Louis was indeed pissed off at this player and how he was handling himself in certain situations. He was too aggressive, he needed to hold back, etc., etc., etc. Now, a lot of Canadiens fans will be quick to point out that part of what makes Xhekaj so valuable in the first place is his aggressiveness, how often and how willing he is to get into the face of his opponents, deliver big hits, and just make the other team's lives a living hell. But it turns out, according to what we have heard from Matthias Brumet on BPM Sports, it's apparent that there may be another NHL team or two out there that values Xhekaj's aggression in the same way. This was posted onto Twitter, this was posted onto the Habs sub. We're going to read the Canadiens post made on the Habs subreddit just to get the gist of it. Matthias Brumet said this on BPM Sports Talk Radio yesterday. I'm convinced that Montreal has one or multiple teams willing to send them a first-round pick in a trade for Arber Xhekaj. Following this, he said he can be quoted on that. He has a very strong intuition about this, but also something else, which could potentially be like a source or something. And my immediate reaction upon seeing this pop up on Reddit, as well as pop up on Twitter, because this was there as well, was, wait a minute, what the hell is Kent Hughes doing? If Arber Xhekaj is there, and some team is offering a first-round pick to get him, why are you sitting on this, Kent Hughes? Make that trade right now. And based off of the replies on Twitter, on Reddit, there are a bunch of Canadiens fans that are saying the same thing. Wait a minute, Arber Xhekaj was a free agent pickup. Like, if there is a team that feels that Xhekaj is so valuable that he is worth a first in a trade, make that gosh darn trade. But of course, that's a reactionary response, right? Let's go out there and talk about why exactly this may be the case and what the opposing argument is. Because there are a bunch of Canadiens fans that, upon hearing this news, actually did come to the conclusion that they would rather keep Xhekaj. Here's one of the top comments on the Habs sub. We are soft as blank without him. He has a lot of room for improvement. I wouldn't trade him, especially for a mid-20s first-round pick. Too much unknown potential. Try shipping off Jordan Harris for a second. And then there's a response that says this, I don't know, I would make the Romanov trade any day of the week, for example. It's easy to get attached to these guys and not see the whole picture. And that is another idea as well. Whether or not you would see Arber Xhekaj as a more so bottom-tier pair defenseman in his prime? Does he have it in him to become a top 4 guy? Maybe get more offensive potential in there? He's already a brute force as it is, so what exactly is the ceiling there? Where do you go from here? Another reply says, so many people here are underestimating the importance of having a guy like Xhekaj for the playoffs, and he'll definitely improve and learn not to take dumb penalties, and he'll be a pain in the behind to play against. Stop trying to make us softer. Then there are a bunch of other comments that are also replying, hey, first round pick for a third pair guy, free agent pickup, hey, I'm doing that any day of the week. Fan favorite, yes, but we'll take the first round pick. And I think your response to this Arber Xhekaj conversation really indicates what your opinion is on the Canadiens and their development. If you think they're a lot closer to contending, let's say within the next 2 or 3 years, then you're probably in the boat that says, yeah, I'd rather keep Xhekaj. But if you're in the boat that says, hey, if the Canadiens want to contend and they want to actually build properly and build chemistry, by the time Juraj Slafkovsky is, let's say, 23 years old, that's when we should start thinking about being quote-unquote competitive. If you're in the more longer-term window of, let's say, 2028, 2029, then you're probably more akin to saying, okay, well, trade Xhekaj, we can get a first-round pick. That's pretty valuable here. Think about that Romanov trade. We traded for a top pick, first-rounder, 13th overall, and then use that pick to acquire Doc. You could probably do something similar here. Maybe not exactly, because that was a very specific circumstance, but still, there's leverage you get when you get first-round picks, either with the draft itself or by trading those picks away to get players that help you out now. If you're a believer in Arber Xhekaj and you think he's got a lot more potential, then hey, it's totally your prerogative to let me know in the comments if you'd rather keep him instead. And then there's the entire angle that says, hey, why would we trade him? We already drafted his brother. We already have a level of commitment within this organization to the Xhekaj family that extends beyond just a regular old first-round pick. And again, I mean, it's just one guy on the radio going out there and saying that he's hearing this is apparently a thing, but still. There also was the rebuttal to that Xhekaj thing, the Florian-Arber connection that says that literally the Montreal Canadiens got Kirby Dach from Chicago after the Blackhawks drafted his brother Colton Dach. So we've known from historical examples literally involving the Canadiens organization that just because a team has the guy's brother doesn't mean the first player is immune to getting traded. It just depends. I mean, for me personally, if you're looking at it just piece to piece, mano a mano, Arber Xhekaj definitely does have potential, but he's a third pairing bottom tier guy right now. Fan favorite, yes, but if you're getting yourselves, let's say, a top 15 pick in next year's draft for that, I'm feeling really good about that trade. Also, you have to think about the Canadiens and their defense core in general. They have so many guys. So many. And when you're trying to project the lines, even next to, like, I don't know, a week from now. Let's just say people get healthy, people come back. Let's say you're in training camp next year. How in the hell are you going to project who plays where? There are so many bodies on this Canadiens team that it's difficult to really project who's where and who develops alongside of each other long term. So if you wanted to make that problem a little bit easier, trading Arber Xhekaj away makes sense, especially if you're able to get an asset that a lot of Canadiens fans would see valuable, like a first-round pick. Now, you could for sure say there's some portion of the fan base that may be, let's just say, overestimating or overvaluing the potential of a first-round pick, because it's like, oh, if you get a first-round pick in a Xhekaj trade, and that first-round pick ends up becoming a player who is like Arber Xhekaj at 22 years old, you're probably happy with that, right? So why would you make that trade? Xhekaj is fine already. But there are many Canadiens fans who would disagree. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Arber Xhekaj trade price being revealed. It is huge. If the Canadiens are able to turn this into a first-round pick, then they literally would have taken an unsigned, undrafted, free agent guy and made him a first-round pick within the span of like 3 years. That's pretty good asset management, if I do say so myself. But is Arber Xhekaj the guy you want to see get traded to get this done? Would you rather them try to look at some other defensemen on their blue line and try to make a trade there? Or is Arber Xhekaj one of many that are expendable and that should be available to trade regardless, especially for this price? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Arber Xhekaj development. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.